Overdrive today, the king of Indian SUVs gets a significant midlife update. On the two-wheeler side, we've ridden the new Royal Enfield Shotgun 650 in LA on roads that scream California. Hello and welcome to Overdrive. I am Soini Dutt. Hyundai has once again hit it out of the park with the all-new Creta. It now promises to threaten competition with the significant updates it has packed in. Rohit will tell you more.
When the teaser images of the Hyundai Creta came out, we all just went, wow, right? Ionic 5 vibes, angular face, those pixel design lights, it all looked so nice. But then the spy shots of the side profile came out and everyone frowned. Doesn't look pretty, does it? The facelift that was given to the Creta in the other Asian markets was inspired by the Tucson, similar lighting elements, again lights in the bumper, etc. Should they have gone with this theme? Maybe. But then again, the radical design of the Tucson is not to everyone's taste. So I think that departure, doing that unique design for the India spec Creta is actually a very good idea.
It possesses a distinctive look, to say the least. A direct comparison of the old and the new Creta reveals a significantly more imposing presence in the design of the new one.
I'll not say it's a completely unique approach, other car makers do that too, but most car makers would have simply taken the global model, made a few subtle changes here and there, maybe to the colors, maybe to a few housings, and that's about it. Here, Hyundai has gone with a completely different design, and that speaks volumes about the kind of volumes that they enjoy in the Indian market.
I do think, however, that the grille, despite the nice black chrome treatment, looks somewhat empty with its wide openings. And the exposed wiring in some areas is worrisome, posing a potential attraction for rodents. Bringing a touch of modernity are the pixel design lights and the sequential turn blinkers. However, the impact of the latter is somewhat diminished by their small size.
They should have tinkered a bit with the design of the C-pillar and also made these creases a little sharper, especially this curve right here. That doesn't really go with the angular theme that they've gone with the face or with the tail.
As a consumer, opting for a darker color could be an easy fix, effectively concealing the curves and giving the car a more angular and defined appearance overall. I also like the new angular sculpting for the bonnet.
You'll also see them from behind the wheel and it looks really nice, adds a sporty appearance. What you'll also notice when you step inside the cabin is a more premium look and feel for the dashboard.
The dash looks like it came from a more expensive European car.
They should have done a few soft touch materials. All this is still scratchy plastics, but then again, I like the kind of textures that they've used. There's a mix of different textures. There's also subtle ambient lighting in this little crevice here. That's the only place you get the ambient lighting. It looks quite nice, it looks classy. The only thing that is loud inside this cabin are these speakers, the Bose speaker system. It sounds quite good.
The switchgear is new too and falls easily at hand, safeguarding the ergonomics.
Surprisingly, they've gone with an old school grid-like layout for the switchgear. Now, I quite like it. It's very intuitive, very easy to use even on the move. What I do not like, however, is the gloss black finish that has been given to it. I think they should have just gone with a matte black finish, something similar to what they have here on the ports. I think that would have felt better to the touch, looked a little classier, and would have attracted lesser scratches, fingerprints, dust, etc.
Like the Ionic, they've also added a small magnetic panel next to the steering wheel.
It's not a very strong magnet, so your MagSafe phone isn't going to stick here, or the MagSafe accessories are barely going to stick, but you can use it to maybe place a smaller magnet, put your family's photo like they show in the brochure, or a magnet of your favorite deity, etc. So yeah, this is a nice touch, I think.
The screen also now sits flush with the instrumentation. The interface remains intuitive and slick, with seamless support for both Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, now accessible wirelessly. The display maintains a sharp clarity, and there's a convenient QR code for accessing the owner's manual. Additionally, a new integrated JioSaavn Pro app facilitates music streaming, requiring internet connectivity though. Notably, many voice functions, on the other hand, operate even offline now. Building on this, some of the voice commands can now also be given in English, a feature that we checked out with the new Sonnet.
Sunroof kholiye.
opening the sunroof.
The infotainment system also accommodates various Indian languages, adding a thoughtful touch to cater to diverse preferences.
The air purification system is embedded within the HVAC. You do not get any screens or displays right here for the rear seat occupants. What you do get, however, is 2 rear AC vents. You also get 2 USB-C ports. You have this huge panoramic sunroof which adds to the airy feel. It goes well with the lighter shades that they have now used in the cabin. I think it feels nice and airy in here. And if you want a more cozy setting, then obviously you can close this. You can also close these window blinds, manually retractable of course. So overall, nice and cozy place to be in. Now in terms of the comfort, superb legroom with the seat set to my driving preference. You also get these seat pockets right here. The foot space is really good. Headroom, even for a 6-footer, shouldn't be a problem at all. And because the angle of the seating is nice and comfortable, getting a quick snooze back here with these pillows should be a nice touch.
Well, we're not done with the review just yet. After this very short break, we'll tell you what engine variant you should put your money on. Stay with us, you're watching Overdrive. Welcome back, you're watching Overdrive. Now, just before the break, we were talking about the various styling and feature updates to the new Creta. Let's now talk about the bigger changes, the new 1.5-litre diesel as well as the ADAS functionality.
So essentially, the platform is over 8 years old now. That's usually the lifetime of a particular platform or a particular vehicle. And here, the Creta is now preparing for yet another stint. But that said, despite this platform being so old, it doesn't really show its age, and that is what I'm astonished about. The powertrains, they still feel very refined. Like I said, they've also improved the safety over time, and that also includes electronic safety features like ADAS. And this is a level 2 ADAS system. It uses a camera as well as radars to detect cars, pedestrians, cycles, motorcycles, even cattle for that matter. What I like about this ADAS system is that now even on some of the B roads that I'm driving on here in Rajasthan, where the lane markings are not clearly visible, they are there but they are not clearly visible, it is still able to read it much nicely. So when Hyundai says that their ADAS system has been tuned for India, they have been developed for India, they really mean it. This is something that they told us with the Tucson, right? And when I reviewed the facelift of the Creta in Thailand, I told you that the Indian version of that ADAS system will make it to our market. And that's exactly what has happened. The same thing that we saw on the Tucson is now being used even on the Creta. Now both the 1.5 petrol and the diesel that I am driving right now on this particular test drive, I am driving only the automatic transmissions. I do not have a manual at my disposal here. But if I were to compare the two autos, I am more in favor of the torque converter. I think it's the more reliable transmission, but the DCT is also quite nice, especially if you're an enthusiast. Now here we have been only driving on open straight roads, but if you were to drive around winding roads, the DCT is definitely going to be a lot more fun. Now both these automatics do come with paddle shifters whenever you want to take manual control, but the tuning of that 7-speed DCT compared to the transmission you had on the 1.4 DCT combination, the tuning is pretty different. This one feels a little more eager, especially when you came over a speed breaker. There was a bit of a lag on the 1.4 DCT that you don't really feel here on the 1.5. We've often said that Hyundai steering systems are conveniently light. You can even move them around with one finger and they'll do the job. Now here you get different driving modes, irrespective of the powertrain. The diesel has it, the 1.5 petrol has it. So you can choose between eco, normal and sport. Normal is where it feels fairly lighter. Sport is where it feels pretty heavy. But when I say fairly lighter in normal mode, it's still not as light as what the steering systems in Hyundai used to be. It's still a bit on the heavier side. So ideally, I would have liked a setting in the drive modes where it allowed me to choose the powertrain response from the sport mode, because the sport mode just makes the engine feel a little freer, it breathes a little better, it just feels like that. So even in the city, I would want to drive in sport mode. The normal is just too dull for my liking. So I would like that powertrain response from the sport mode, and I would like the lighter steering from the normal mode. What you're absolutely going to love is the suspension setup. Again, not a big change from the outgoing car. little tuning changes here and there, and of course that stiffer chassis that I told you about. But all of that has come together to make the suspension feel more sophisticated. Now, there were times where the suspension would thud a little bit, or over poorer road conditions there would be a little bit of noise coming from the suspension. All of that is quite nicely ironed out with this update. That stiffer chassis again has a good role to play in that. So like I said, the noise vibration levels have dropped significantly. So naturally aspirated 1.5 petrol and the 1.5 diesel, both of them have been carried over, but the 1.4 turbo petrol is now replaced with the 1.5 turbo petrol. So this is the same engine that you also get in the Verna, but if you were to drive both the cars back to back, you will notice that the Verna feels a lot punchier, and that's also down to its lighter weight. This one is a lighter car. It's also tuned a little differently, and even in the sport mode, it's not going to feel as eager in the lower revs as the Verna. Those who still need the diesel will have the 1.5 diesel at their disposal. That's the one that I'm driving right now. And we did drive the outgoing Creta just a few months back with the diesel engine. And between that and this, I know that they haven't really done much of a change, but somehow the engine just feels a little bit more refined, and that is down to the chassis. The chassis has been made stiffer compared to the outgoing car to make it safer and more compatible with the new Bharat NCAP norms. But that has also sort of made the powertrains feel more refined. The noise and vibration levels inside the cabin have gone down. So overall, I would only recommend the base petrol if you are on an absolute budget. If you just want a larger car with the Creta, but you are not willing to stretch to maybe the higher models, then that's the only reason why you should choose the base petrol. Otherwise, the 1.5 turbo petrol makes a lot more sense. Like I said, it feels punchy. At the same time, the fuel economy is slightly better too compared to the 1.4. So that would be my choice if you were going down the petrol route. And if you are still okay with buying a diesel, if you still don't have any apprehensions and you want to buy a diesel for those long distance commutes, this is one of the best diesel engines in the category. This is the fourth facelift on the Creta platform, and yet if someone were to sell you this car as an all-new model, you'll probably believe it. That's how good the design, the cabin, the new engines, the new features, everything comes together. There's absolutely no surprise that this is the competition's nightmare.
Hyundai has launched the Creta at an introductory starting price of 10.99 lakh rupees ex-showroom. You can also go for the top-end diesel as well as the turbo petrol unit for 20 lakh rupees ex-showroom. Do let us know in the comment section on our YouTube channel which variant as well as which trim you would want to put your money on. We'll be back very shortly to tell you all about the Royal Enfield Shotgun 650. Stay with us, you're watching Overdrive. Welcome back, you're watching Overdrive. The Royal Enfield Shotgun 650 is a new promise by the brand. It is a power cruiser that the brand has never attempted before. So does it deliver on the promise? Let's find out.
Royal Enfield dropped a surprise at the 2023 Rider Mania event in Goa, the Shotgun 650. It's a sportier take on the Super Meteor 650. Yes, it looks sportier, but it's still a cruiser at heart. So what better place to ride it and try it out than the country that loves the quintessential bouquet of cruisers, America. And here's what we are going to do now. Ride it on the road in the twisties and find out if it's better than the Super Meteor. Also, US is a big market for Royal Enfield's 650 range, and it's got the smooth roads that you would want to test a bike like this, which has such little suspension travel. So before we get to what's new, let's address the elephant in the room, the ride quality. Now, one of the biggest concerns that we've had with the Super Meteor 650 has been, of course, that stiff ride, especially at the rear, because there's very little suspension travel available with that cruiser form factor. However, with the Shotgun, Royal Enfield has increased the height of the rear suspension because the rear fender also sits a little higher. That liberates about 8 to 9 millimeters of extra suspension travel, extra wheel travel, etc. Now, what that has translated into is a slightly suppler ride, especially from the rear suspension. Now, we had very smooth roads on most of our ride today, but we did get a few bad patches of road where we could test it out. So yes, the ride quality is an improvement over the Super Meteor, but back home, the ride is still going to feel a bit firm. It's not going to be as bone-jarring as the Super Meteor, but it's going to be a little suppler than that. Now, can you retrofit the suspension to the Super Meteor? Well, not really. You can do a few modifications because you see the problem with the Super Meteor is going to be the fender. It sits very close to the wheel. So if you do manage to fit the suspension on that bike, the wheel is going to keep crashing into the fender. The mounting points for the suspension remain the same though, and even the chassis and engine are carried over from the Super Meteor without much changes. And yet, the ergonomics are different. Now, RE has dropped the handlebar a little bit. They've gone with an 18-inch front, 17-inch rear. The front forks have been lowered, the rear suspension has been raised, and then you also have a slightly tucked in rake angle. So what that gives you is a more aggressive, a more sporty riding posture. In relative terms, of course, it's still not going to be as committed as something like the Continental GT. The Shotgun also gets these mid-mounted foot pegs. These not only safeguard a bit of the RE heritage by maintaining a 90-degree knee angle akin to a Classic, but also contribute further to the sportier riding style compared to the Super Meteor. Riding through the winding roads near Mulholland and the Angeles Crest, the more aggressive posture translated into an engaging and dynamic riding experience. The Shotgun immediately feels sharper than the Super Meteor. But it's crucial to highlight that there remains a perceptible disconnect between the front and the rear suspension. The rear feels noticeably softer than the front, and on sudden direction changes or switchbacks, the motorcycle seems too flexible. It isn't unnerving though, and once you get the hang of it, the Shotgun becomes a hoot to ride. It feels more responsive to rider inputs, offering a sense of connection with the road that enthusiasts crave. You can lean on the front end a lot more, and the front end feel and the confidence is of a higher degree than any of the 650 siblings. And that says a lot about the handling package of the Shotgun. So much so that I'm now yearning for Royal Enfield to use this magic potion on the Continental GT 650, which will now feel lethargic in comparison to the Shotgun's quick turn-ins. The feelers on the foot peg of the Shotgun are still not going to be as long as the one on the Continental GT, but the cornering clearance, well, the kind of limit that you have with it, the front end feel is actually quite good because you're not really leaning the bike too much. So that front end feel is good, the overall grip is quite nice. So within these limits, I think it performs quite well. The parallel twin motor, unchanged from the Super Meteor, offers excellent low and mid-range response. It's well tuned for city commuting and cruising at 120 kilometers on the highway. While pushing it around bends requires more gear shifting due to the quick revving nature of this engine. Maintaining a brisk pace utilizes the mid-range effectively. Improved braking manners compared to the first-gen 650 twins adds to the overall experience. The Shotgun's design has cyberpunk inspiration with a thoughtful blend of heritage and modern design. Inspired by the current custom motorcycle trends, it emphasizes its roles as a bare-bones variant of the Super Meteor 650. The bold color schemes, low belt line and a brand new silhouette make for a visual narrative that speaks about Royal Enfield's commitment to evolution. Created to offer a canvas for custom bike builders, it allows both new and experienced builders to showcase their creativity. Even if you prefer not to modify the aesthetics, the Shotgun 650 has a distinctive look compared to its siblings. Of course, its biggest competition is going to come from its own stablemates. But I think by offering this unique blend of heritage and modernity, I think the Shotgun 650 has a lot going for it. But only time will tell how the market reacts. From where I'm standing, I think this is one excellent motorcycle. A very good addition to the already existing lineup, an exciting lineup of the 650s.
With that, we've run out of time on this week's episode of Overdrive. But remember, you can stay in touch with the team through our various social media platforms. You can also write into us on our YouTube channel. We'll see you next week. Until then, goodbye. Many thanks for watching.